Matt Llewellyn of the 23rd Street Brewery about 3 weeks ago.
Well, you know who Chewbacca is.
Well, I know that, but I don't even know if that's really the derivation of it.
It almost has to be, right?
Right. I know who it is. I saw the first one. That's it. Anyway, I have. This has been in my refrigerator for 3 weeks.
Oh.
So I've been a good boy.
Such restraint.
I looked at it several times, and like because we missed 3 weeks ago, and then we missed 2 weeks ago. I'm like, geez, I don't know. It's sitting back there looking awful tasty, but I saved it. So here we are with the Chewbacca. Here we go.
Ooh. Well, that's better than the last one.
Well, it's way better than the last
one. By a mile.
This is excellent.
Wow.
Matt was raving about it.
Was he really? So this is the new brewery he brought in. Like a year ago, he brought that guy in.
Yes,
right?
and he's very happy with him. And wow, this is good. The Chewbacca. And they had just, in fact, debuted it. I think I was there. Yeah, I was there about a couple of weeks before that. And he had said, "Oh, you got to try the Chewbacca." And he asked the server, and she said, "Oh, that's coming out tomorrow."
Yeah, we don't have it tapped up yet or whatever.
So anyway, I got it because I was visiting with a friend who I sometimes meet there. And so it's a guy from Topeka, very nice guy that I met through doing the podcast. And we meet every now and then. And very unusual circumstance. So the first time we got together, we're just shooting the bull and telling stories, whatever. And he starts to, he says, "I know a good friend of your wife. I'm good friends with a friend of your wife."
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. And so he starts talking about this woman, and he's using a nickname for her, okay?
Okay.
So I don't know.
Is this going to get you in trouble right
No.
vacation?
I'm not connecting the dots in any way. And then I went home and I started talking to my wife, and I said, I didn't really understand who this was. And he says, "Oh, that's Kyle. That's Kyle, her lifelong friend. She was lifelong friends with two twins, Ann and Kyle."
Okay.
And so this guy had called her Kai the whole time. And I had never heard her.
Kyle's a lady.
Yeah, Kyle's a lady.
Oh.
So
Interesting.
Anyway, they had us out for. Ann and Kyle had us out for some couples thing a few weeks ago. It was a great time. But, the three of them get together, and they've known each other since they were like...
Yeah, and then you're the third wheel.
Well, the three husbands are just sitting there not speaking the whole time. and like they're literally talking about, stealing each other's boyfriends and spin the bottle. And I never played spin the bottle.
Danny...
Did you ever play spin the bottle?
Yes, I did. Yeah. For sure. Once. Those situations, like you're in there, I used to smoke.
Right.
And those situations are made
for smoking.
Because you're like, well, be right back.
Oh, I see. Because you had to leave to smoke.
Because you got to leave and go outside. And when I quit, I told my wife, I'm like, the thing I'm going to miss the most is the excuse to leave when I don't want to be there.
When you quit smoking.
Yep.
Well, would you, when you were a smoker, would you have yearned for the day when, obviously I'm going this movie-themed trip, and, smoking was just, everybody smoked. I mean, and it was a sophisticated,
absolutely
cool thing to smoke. There's a very famous scene with Paul Heinried and Bette Davis where he lights both cigarettes and hands one to her. It's one of the most famous scenes in the history of movies.
Oh, Danny, I used to do that all the time. Are you kidding me? That was a smooth move when I was 15 years old.
Right.
You know what? Yes, I would have loved it. I was a big fan of Mad Men, right? And like they're constantly smoking. But what I can't understand, and I think I've asked you this, maybe not on the pod, did it just smell terrible everywhere you went?
And we didn't...
And you just didn't get it? Because it's like every municipal building, doctor's office, hospital. Because you go to Vegas now, and it just... Even when I was a smoker, I would go to Vegas and be like, this place reeks.
Can you still smoke in Vegas? In the casinos?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
everywhere but Aria.
They always brag about, the circulation system.
No.
But, well, the thing is, that... I think we have talked about this part. When there was the time where most places you couldn't smoke, but some places you could. You'd be in a bar, then you'd come home and you'd be like, your clothes just reeked.
Oh, no.
Absolutely reeked.
I know about that for sure. And I mean, I used to eat at restaurants when I was a kid that had a smoking section. It's like, there's no partition. Like, why is that the smoking section, right? But, like,
I think they did it on in airplanes, didn't they? Where there was a no smoking section. I mean, in an enclosed airplane.
Yeah, in a metal tube.
I guess it's better, but I mean...
it everywhere must have stunk. And was there just ashtrays everywhere? Like,
oh yeah,
or were there just ashes everywhere?
There were definitely. I mean, I'm old enough to remember. No matter where you went, bus station, blah blah blah, there'd be giant ashtrays were everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
every elevator
on the plane, there was an ashtray in your seat, the seat handle. Cars, they all had ashtrays.
Yeah, they don't have those anymore, which is funny. I mean, I don't know where I'm supposed to put my change, Danny. Like, I don't have an ashtray anymore.
Well, I never smoked, so it was, but I never minded.
Well, you weren't nearly as cool as me, obviously.
Well, I mean, I never smoked cigarettes. But anyway, I really didn't smoke cigarettes because I didn't smoke joints, so... It's a bong. We were bong men.
He was a bong man.
Bong and pipe, so.
Speaking of old-timey...
But it never bothered me. And when I went to a bar...
It didn't bother you, the smell of the cigarette smoke?
No, it really didn't. My first wife smoked it for a while, off and on. Didn't bother me to kiss her when she'd smoked. And, some people would say it was gross or whatever. And none of it ever... It really didn't bother me.
Oh, no, it smells great and tastes delicious.
It smells awful.
It's the most fantastic thing in the whole wide world, and I wish I could do it all the time.
It's almost like... It is almost like coffee. I mean, a freshly lit cigarette when you're first... To me, it's not like cigar. Like, I don't like cigars. I don't like cigar smoking.
Okay.
I don't like the smell of it.
Okay.
I don't like anything about it.
All right.
I mean, it's fine. People seem to enjoy it a lot.
It's generally just the person doing it that's the problem for me. I do enjoy smoking a cigar, but largely the people who are doing it...
I know what you're saying, but I'm not going down that road because there's a lot of people that like it, and they don't.
I like it,
and
so maybe I'm that guy.
I think that No, I'm not doing it. I'll tell you. I'll talk to you off the air about what I really think about. But if somebody says we're going to have a cigar night or something, you're like I'm in the Breakfast Club, marketing club, great guys, wonderful guys, and they'll have a cigar night, and I'm like, there's no way.
For you.
I mean, there is no way I'm getting in a closed room with a bunch of guys smoking cigars. I mean, forget it. Now that's, to me, that is some rich ass smoke.
I never understood cigar smoking until I quit smoking cigarettes, and now I'll smoke a cigar and I'll be like, oh, okay, I can do this.
But you don't. I think.
Yeah, you're not inhaling it.
But so what's the? If you're not inhaling it, what's the idea? Are you still getting some effect? Because just because you are doing, you must be inhaling. The point is, you're not actually going like you would.
Yeah, you're not sucking it into your lungs on purpose, but you're getting some nicotine for sure. I mean, nicotine's fantastic. I love nicotine, but it's my favorite drug. But you also, it's good with booze, right? So if you're having a scotch or you're having
I've heard that. Yes.
You're having a good tequila or something, and you're smoking a cigar with it.
I think
it helps enhance.
It seems part of the experience of twirling it around in your fingers. Absolutely. And cutting it and all those things.
It's very phallic.
I mean, for every. This is where we need to stop, not because of the phallic part, but because I think is where we're going is where we don't want to go, which is what the motivation is of the smoking of the cigar and so on and so forth. But anyway, let's switch to something that we enjoyed for a while together, which was the Champions League. We sat in this very room. And this was a last-minute call, which I could have, you said I might be checking in at about 11 o'clock with an update on whether you can come over and watch the game. And, because I understood that you might want to consume the game by yourself. It's a big game. The Champions League final featured Joe's team, Borussia Dortmund, against mighty Real Madrid. And he says, I'll probably, I said, I haven't decided, blah, blah, blah. I'll check in around 11. 12:26. I'm literally pulling out to go to the hardware store, and I haven't taken a shower yet. I've done nothing. I mean, so he says, if you promise to be positive, you can come over and watch the game. And so it was great.
You were so much fun to watch the game with, Danny. It was so great.
I was really into it. I wanted them to win. It's a big underdog story. It's Joe's team. Yeah. I had a definite rooting interest. They missed an opportunity in the early part of the game. I was rolling around on the floor.
Danny was rolling around on the floor in anticipation. Well, what had happened, Danny, is I went to Beer Co. to fill up my growler.
Right.
And get a pretzel and some German potato salad. And I maybe had a pint or two while there.
Aha.
And there were a lot of Dortmund fans showing up, and I was getting a little bit of like, oh no, I wish I was here.
Right.
But so I already made plans to watch it with my daughter and my wife, who are big Dortmund fans. So then I'm frantically like jumping on the phone, like everybody had given a maybe two. I'm like, let's roll. And then you all showed up, which was great. And
But there were only four of us.
Yes.
And one person, I think, was a complete soccer novice.
Yes, yeah.
And then your other friend,
mostly he
kind of knew, but still a soccer novice, but understood the nuances, really getting into it. And then the two of us who were talking about the nuances. I'm no expert, but I'm more of an expert than I once was. Yep. And I know when a team's playing well and how they're working the triangles and all that stuff. And the sad part was that this had the possibility of being one of the most enjoyable shared experiences you could ever had, because Dortmund was like a 5-1 underdog. I think it was plus 450, wasn't it? I think so. And they were playing the socks off Real Madrid.
They were kicking their ass.
And it was delightful soccer to watch. They were frustrating Real Madrid. They were playing with courage. They were handling the ball at the back beautifully. Then the swift counterattacks, good opportunity. They just couldn't
playing through the middle. They just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net, and that's soccer.
And that sucked, football, and then they paid for it, and they gave up one sort of regular goal as a set piece. It wasn't great, and then they did a giveaway a la Sporting on Saturday night.
But a la Dortmund always.
Right. So,
but it was fun, and I really had fun watching it with you, buddy.
The air went out so quickly because the first goal came in the 73rd minute. At that point, you're thinking, this looks like it's headed to extra time, maybe kicks, whatever. This is getting to be dramatic. But Real Madrid was working themselves into the game, and once the goal went in, it was all she wrote, and they scored another one right away. It was like buzzkill.
Yeah. But we got 73 minutes
of
hope, of bliss, really, because it was like, oh my God, they might do this thing.
Right. It was really cool.
It was really fun. Thanks for coming. That was really fun.
For Chiefs fans, this is what we experienced, is what Chiefs opponents in the playoffs year after year have experienced.
Yeah, with Pat.
The Chiefs have been in trouble in 2/3 of the games.
Yep.
And the other teams,
maybe more.
Yeah, maybe more. Maybe all but a couple.
I mean, that first year they were behind in every game. They were down 21
I don't think have they killed anyone start to finish?
Miami in the cold game.
Yeah, right. Maybe. Yeah, that wasn't a game really. But most of the time, the other team comes out of the game thinking, "Boy, we had them.
Yep,
we had them." And if we'd made a play or two here, and all Dortmund had to do was convert a couple of their chances, and then maybe Madrid comes back and maybe forces extra time. But anyway, it was a great experience.
Yeah, it was super fun, dude.
Enjoyed it very much.
I had a great experience watching the Royals on national TV a couple weeks ago.
Right. And so you were inspired?
I was inspired, so I went ahead and got Bally, and then they started losing immediately. But
they're still fine.
But they're still fine. Danny, I had not, I'll just be honest, I had not really watched a lot of baseball since the pitch clock and since the changes they made with that.
Right.
Dude, it is really a much more enjoyable experience for me. It's a combination of getting older and being okay with something slower happening, and having a thing on sort of in the background, and then also that was always my biggest gripe, was like a lot of standing around.
Right.
And man, it moves along now.
Right. You can't throw it at first more than twice.
Yeah, this group is fun to watch. It's 2.5 hours and you're out of it.
It's also not just the overall length as it ends up being. It's the pace itself. Now the length. Very seldom do you have 3-hour games anymore.
Yeah, which is
3.5 used to be, commonplace.
Pretty standard, yeah.
Right, and the Red Sox and the Yankees, 4 hours was standard.
Yes.
So, yes, I mean, hey.
I mean, the game's on tonight. When we're done here, I'm going to grill out, have the game on the deck, and like it is.
And it's a big game. As
Yeah.
we speak on Tuesday, the Royals here on June 4th